Okay, so this is part two of the week five lecture on balance. We're now getting into the anatomy, functional balance, performance components, key anatomy. This is key anatomy and those key components of balance that really relates to the occupations, the activities that we work with a lot as OTs around bathing and dressing and that sort of stuff. Don't need to know all this anatomy, but there is some key stuff that's important to know that I'll highlight. Trunk extension, trunk flexion. I need to know that. That's going to come in for, she's extending, she's flexing. Rotating the trunk. It's not here, but there's also lateral flexion. So that's kind of going this way, to his right, to his left. So all these key movements around the trunk that are key to occupation. The key anatomy, don't need to know all this. Do need to know rectus abdominis, key trunk flexor, the obliques on the side, core muscles, external obliques, internal obliques, transverse abs, rectus abs. There's the trunk rotation one. Where do you see this occupationally? These trunk movements, these key trunk muscles, again, coming forward as you're making the bed, these forward movements with washing dishes in the stove, reaching into the refrigerator, coming forward, trunk, the forward weight shift, the faucets in the shower, dusting, clothes out of the bureau, cleaning the tub is a big one, a lot of trunk flexion, dressing your lower body, coming forward. Hip extension, hip flexion. She's extending her hip, he's flexing his hip. Key hip flexors, need to know those. We'll get into these a lot in work. Class 2, iliacus and the psoas major, key hip flexors. Gluteus medius is the big one to know here. This butt muscle back here does a lot of things. It helps with hip extension as well. Where do you see it occupationally? He's coming forward, kicking in the rectus, and then he's extending. So he's extending his hips with the gluteus and some other muscles. Hip abduction and adduction. This person is abducting their hip. It's coming away from midline. And then that's manual muscle testing for abduction. For adduction, they're coming back. Adduction, coming back to midline. So ab is away, adduction is to the side. It's also that lateral side-to-side weight shifting we talked about. Think about toileting. What are they doing? They're kind of kicking in their hip abductors and adductors as they go from one cheek to the other to reach for their toilet hygiene. Primary hip abductors, gluteus, again, the maximus and the minimus. Hip adductors, adductor longus, don't need to know all these. These gluteus ones are key. Need to know the motion. Where do you see the hip ab and adduction occupationally? Moving sideways along a kitchen counter. Clients are always doing that, especially when their balance is off. They're hanging on to the counter, going sideways. Envision this woman kind of moving over to grab a dish and then back to her. Looks like a lovely little pie or biscuits or something there. Toilet hygiene, we talked about that. Stepping into the shower. If they go sideways into the shower, that's a hip abduction, adduction. Weight shifting, tight spaces. Core. The core muscle group is good. A lot of core muscles, some key ones. The lats, traps, quadratus lumbar, spinal erectors, obliques, the abs. Single leg stance and the gluteus medius. Single leg stance is huge. PTs are all over it because it's a big part of gait. When you walk, if you pay attention when you walk, there's one split little moment when you're on one foot or on one leg. People with poor balance, they shuffle. They can't do that single leg stance anymore. Their gluteus medius is getting too weak. Here's a great part, a time when we use the gluteus medius to step into the shower. Single leg stance. Here's an example. A few winters back, I slipped on the ice and hit hard on my butt. So I bruised my gluteus medius. Every time after that for quite a while, when I was getting dressed in the morning and I stood to pull my socks up, when I stood on one leg to pull my socks up, it really killed my butt. I could feel the pain and the soreness in there. Stairs, you're going one leg, stepping into the car, you use that single leg stance a lot. It's a key muscle group you need to have in good shape. Knee flexion, obviously, for a sit to stand is a big one. Hamstrings, help with that. Knee extension, the quads. Quads play a huge role in sit to stand. How big are their quads? This breaks down different parts of the quads. We're just calling this muscle group the quadriceps, the quads. Ankle is huge too. We talked about ankle strategies. Ankle dorsiflexion, plantar flexion when you're standing up, and then dorsiflexion as you come back down. Big role in sit to stand. These are confusing because these terms are confusing. I find them confusing anyway. Plantar flexion, this way. See how it's going this way? Think of your late to class. You come into class down the interstate and you're late, so you're using plantar flexion. You're pushing the gas pedal into the floor and you're going fast. You see a state trooper in your rearview mirror. What do? You can do dorsiflexion. Going dorsally, you go back the other way. You ease off on the gas. So plantar coming forward, dorsal going back. And this is what you're using sit to stand. This is what you're using for ankle range of motion when you're uneven ground kind of thing. The muscles. The dorsiflexion. You just do this right now, dorsiflex, you can feel it popping out. Plantar, go the other way. Like you're hitting the gas on the car, the gastrocs in the back. See all these things going on. The dorsiplantar flexion muscles are being used as you come up and you come down. Quads you're using as you come up and come down. The rectus abs as you flex your trunk forward. Gluteus as you extend your hips. Again, going back to those strategies, they're a huge part of fall prevention, that they have really good strategies. A lot of times you're just working on making their strategies stronger, which you can do even with older folks. The ankle strategies, the gastrocs we talked about, hamstrings, tibialis, anterior quads. This is for ankle strategies. Hip strategies, those hip flexors, they're not listed there, but the psoas, hip flexors and extensors, gluteus, hamstrings, spinals, quads, abs. Key muscle groups need to be strong. You find out physical therapists are zeroing in on these muscles and giving exercises for it. We have to be aware of it. It's like, this is the reason why they can't do that task they want to do. Talk to your PT friends. Do occupations that work on these movements, these muscle groups, to get them stronger so they can do the things they want to be able to do safely. How can we isolate these muscles? As she's coming forward, you can do this in your chair. It's a good one to do. She's kicking her rectus abs. And as she goes up and down, but her hands are on her quads. She can feel her quads. And then if she puts her hand back here, she can feel her gastrocs kicking in as she comes up. Probably her tibialis as she's coming down. Sit to stand, single leg stand. Gluteus medius on his right side is kicking in. When I did this in the morning, my butt hurt because the gluteus medius was working, it was sore. Same thing here. Okay, so kind of putting this all together, giving you a ton of information here. What does it all mean? Functional balance involves key anatomy, key strategies that we just went through. Functional balance involves multiple systems. Functional balance is a dynamic, full body, diagonal plane integrated process involving all systems simultaneously. It's key. Why is that key? Because to really work on balance, you have to work on all these systems at once. Really hard to work on balance when the person is sitting in a chair. The more you can get them up, the more you can challenge all these systems simultaneously, as you do in real life when doing tasks, the more you can work on their balance, improve their balance, reduce their fall risk. So get them up. hang on to them. Maybe even take 2 people with the gait belt and have them do stuff. Let's sweep. Let's vacuum. Let's dust. Let's make your bed. Working on balance. All these great things. Keep that in mind. All right. So what happens to these systems as you age, as you would guess? More postural sway, slow muscle reactions all around, decreased anticipatory responses, decreased strategies, loss of strength, loss of range of motion. It's kind of this whole cascade of issues that start to happen that really lead to more falls and stuff. A lot of this stuff you can get better at. I mean, you can't be 25 again, but you can improve your clients in a lot of these areas. Okay, this is the week 5 in-class activity. Trying to put some of the stuff together. These funky little videos, highly professional, of me doing these tasks, sweeping, vacuuming, bed making. You have to kind of assess and break them down to see which components are involved in which tasks. We're going to do this. I'm going to have you do this as homework. Give it your best shot on this, and we'll go back over it in the lab. It's something you have to do. I'm going to have it due by the lab time for the lab on Thursday. So let me kind of walk you through this. These are the components that we just went over. And you have to check it off if this task involves any of these components. I'll go through them again. Vestibular. Is there any head movement involved in this task? Washing dishes, vacuuming, bed making, sweeping. Obviously, there's not much head movement going on in dishes. You're pretty still. But with vacuuming, your head's moving up and down as it is with bed making, sweeping. So I'm giving you that one. Put X's here, here, and here for all 3 of those tasks. I mean, you just know that right off the bat before you even look at the video. Sensory. Is there a vision involved? Excuse me. Losing my voice. Is there a vision involved required for this? Do they need to feel the floor? Obviously, this is the obvious one. Again, I'll give you this one. X's all the way across. Now it gets a little more involved. Core stabilizers. Do they need the core to be stabilized as they're doing this? I would say for the most part, yes. Do they need ankle range of motion? That's where you get variation. Some have a lot more ankle range of motion than others. It's a big part of this task. Put an X there. Are they doing any sidestepping? That's the hip, abductors, abs. Single leg stance. Are they ever going into single leg stance? You have to watch the video to pick up on this. Is there any hip range of motion? Are they coming forward and back with their hips? Is there a high risk of using a stepping strategy with this task? Some of these tasks there is. Looking at the video, he's kind of using that as he does that. Is there weight shifting, all different planes? Is it integrated? What do I mean by integrated? Is the upper and lower body involved at the same time? Or is it just one or the other? Diagonal, we didn't get into too much into this, but are the movements kind of not in straight linear planes, but kind of off to the side, different kinds of planes of movement? I did the first one for you, the easy one. You're going to have to watch the videos, do the other 3. Again, we decided all 3 of these are X's. All 3 of these are X's as well. Oh, excuse me, all 4 of these are X's as well. Definitely some core there. The head's not moving. Ankle is not moving. You're just, for the most part, you're just pretty static standing at the dishes. There's no sidestepping. For the most part, I envision somebody just standing at the front of the sink washing dishes. There is no one-legged stance. I mean, definitely you could, but primarily no. No hip range of motion. You're pretty still again. No really risk of a stepping strategy. Weight shifting. Is there weight shifting to all planes? There is some side weight shifting to the right hip, the left hip as they wash the dishes very subtly. Nothing really significant, though, that I would think would be a big issue. Is it upper and lower body together? Are the legs and arms moving? The arms are, the upper body, but not the lower body so much. Is it diagonal? No, it's straight on. Envision this person right in front of the sink, washing the dishes. If they were going to put the dishes into the cupboard, if they were going to unload the dishwasher, the cupboard was off to the side, that would be more diagonal, but everything is just right straight in front of them. So try this, ask questions, We'll go over this in the lab. You got to start thinking this way to get into these activities in the lab and to do well on the exam and understand balance, really what it's about. Okay, I want to run through one more thing to kind of set you up for the lab as well, because we're going to be trying to do some dancing in the lab, believe it or not. Dance can be a great thing for balance. A lot of research around how dance improves balance. Good for Parkinson's disease, tango. So we're going to do some dance, some really basic dances. A little box step for the waltz, and we're going to do the rock step, and we'll kind of break it down, look at the components. We'll do some line dancing as well, just for the fun of it. So looking at dance as a meaningful occupation. So what do I mean by that? Dance can work well if the person likes to dance. If somebody came to me, say I'm an old man in the nursing home, and my worst nightmare, I get one of my OT students now. One of you guys comes in to see me, you're an OT now, great skilled. You say, hey Kev, how's it going? We need to work on your balance. Remember how you used to teach us how to use dance? We're going to do dance today. I would say, no thanks. I use dance because it's a lot of people like to do it, and it works really well with clients. I'm not actually a fan of dancing. I dance with my wife because she likes to dance, but I'm not a fan of dancing. So it would not work for me. You have to find the activity that works for the particular person, as we all know. Tai Chi would work for me. Dance, not so much. Why do we like dance if the person likes it? To go to dance as an occupation to assess components of balance, remediate components of balance. We can do that with dance. We can see how well their balance is by dancing, and we can use dancing to improve their balance, to improve a lot of these components of balance we talked about. Dance is great for a lot of things. I mean, it's very social, very interactive. A lot of folks danced, especially older folks, danced when they were younger. That connection. Music, the beat of the music is good for Parkinson's. It can be a good part of kind of work in the brain. It can be easily learned and easily graded. We're not talking Dancing with the Stars material here. We're talking very, very basic dances that can be graded to make it even more basic and simpler to do sitting or standing. Is there evidence behind this? So you want to do this when you're out there and your level 2s are practicing? Yes, there is. There's tremendous evidence behind this. There's more evidence behind this than most of the exercises the physical therapist is doing on dance. Just go to Google Scholar and get it. This is some of the bigger ones, these systemic reviews. This is NIH, National Institute of Health, as good as it gets. Systematic review, 17 different studies supporting balance, components of balance through dance, including 6 on ballroom dancing, which is what we're going to be doing. The findings suggest that dance, regardless of its style, any kind of dance, can significantly improve muscular strength and endurance, balance, and other aspects of functional fitness in adults. It's all good news for dance fans. The World Health Organization, it's huge, did a scoping review just recently, found strong evidence for dance and remediation of balance components. Conclusions. Dance simultaneously trains movement, posture, and flexibility, and has been linked with better balance. All those things we're talking about. The cueing, the music has been really good. Improves strength, flexibility, motor ability, aerobic endurance, muscle mass, and body composition in older adults. So it's just a wonderful, amazing thing you can use for a lot of clients. I think you could actually open up a dance studio for older folks as an OT and make a killing, private practice. But that's just sidetracking again. All right. Lecture questions. Ask you have questions about those. So this is wrapping it up for week 5 lecture.